and I started running for president about 15 months ago. And I'm sure that he started his candidacy in his home state of New Mexico. I started in the capital of my home state of Illinois, in Springfield, Illinois. I stood on the steps of the old state capitol. This is the building where Abraham Lincoln served for so many years before he went to Washington to serve as president. This is the city where I served for many years in state government before I joined the United States Senate. And I announced this improbable journey to change America. And I have to say, at the time, there were a number of people who asked me, why are you running this time? Why are you running so soon? You're a relatively young man. You can afford to wait. And what I had to explain to people is I believe in what Dr. King called the fierce urgency of now. The fierce urgency of now. The belief that there's such a thing as being too late. And that hour is almost upon us. This week, we mark the 5th anniversary of the war in Iraq. We have spent well over $500 billion. There are some estimates that by the time this is over, we will have spent $3 trillion. We have lost thousands of lives. Thousands more have been maimed. And yet we're not more safe. And our standing in the world is drastically diminished. Our economy is in a shambles. All across the country, I meet people who have lost their homes or are on the verge of losing their homes. All across this country, I meet people desperate for health care. Maybe they can get health care for their kids, but they can't get it for themselves. Or the premiums or the deductibles or the co-payments keep going up and up and up. All across this country, we see schools that, despite the slogans, are leaving millions of children behind. All across this country, you meet people who are working sometimes 2, 3 jobs, but their wages and their incomes have flatlined. While their costs of everything from gas at the pump to electricity to a college education keep going up and up and up. In such circumstances, we cannot afford to wait. We can't wait to fix our schools. We cannot wait to fix our healthcare system. We cannot wait to bring an end to global warming. We cannot wait to end this war in Iraq. We cannot wait. The time is now. So when I got into this race, I know Bill felt the same thing. What we understood was that the size of our challenges had outstripped the capacity of a broken and divided politics to solve. That the American people were hungry, were desperate for something different. A politics that wasn't based on tearing each other down, but was based on lifting the country up. A politics that wasn't based on spin and PR and half-truths and double-speak. A politics that was based on honesty and straight talk and truthfulness. But most of all, when I decided to run, I was betting on you, the American people. Some of you know I now live in Chicago, but I'm not originally from Chicago. I came to Chicago after college because I wanted to work at a grassroots level to help communities in need. And there were a group of churches on the far south side of Chicago that were dealing with the devastation of steel plants that had closed. And I went and worked with these churches as a community organizer for 3.5 years, setting up job training programs for the unemployed, and after-school programs for youth, and economic development for these communities. And I always tell people it was the best education I ever had because it taught me that ordinary people can do extraordinary things when they're given a chance. It taught me that change doesn't happen from the top down. It happens from the bottom up because the American people stand ready for change. I believed that the American people were a decent people and a generous people, willing to work hard and sacrifice for future generations. And I was absolutely convinced that if we could just come together, all of us, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, Native American, young, old, rich, poor, if we could come together to challenge the special interests that have come to dominate Washington, but also to challenge ourselves to be better, to challenge ourselves to be better neighbors and better parents and better citizens, then there'd be no problem we could not solve, no destiny we could not fulfill. That was the bet that I was making 15 months ago. And I'm here to report that after 15 months of crisscrossing the country, after visiting 46 states, after speaking to hundreds of thousands of people, after shaking tens of thousands of hands, after kissing hundreds of babies, after eating hundreds of chicken dinners. You missed those chicken dinners, Bill? Well, I am here to report that my bet has paid off, that my faith in the American people has been vindicated, because everywhere I go, Americans are standing up and they say, we want something new, we want something different, we want to turn the page, we want to write a new chapter in American history. So we have been seeing record turnout everywhere we go. People who've never participated, young people coming out in record numbers like never before. Those like me who are young at heart and who've been disaffected from politics for so many years, getting re-engaged, re-involved. Now, I would like to take credit for all of this, but I have to admit, I think Bill will acknowledge, that part of the reason everybody's so excited is no matter what happens, people will be going into the polling place next November to choose the next president of the United States, and the name George W. Bush will now be on the ballot, and that has everybody excited. Go Bush. The name of my cousin Dick Cheney will now be on the ballot. Some of you read about this. Cheney and I are distant relations. It hurt me in the polls. But people have been forgiving me lately and been picking things back up. So that means that the era of Scooter Libby justice and Brownie incompetence, of Katrina and warrantless wiretaps, Karl Rove politics, all of that will finally be over next year.